Hey everyone. So today I'm going to show you how to create your Dig It magazine cover. And to do this, we're going to look at a couple of things today. We're going to look at our rubric, which has all of the criteria and goes through the grading and a few directions for your magazine cover. And we're also going to be doing that with TCI as well. We're going to be using all of the artifacts that we looked at in TCI, or actually, you're going to pick 4 artifacts that we looked at in TCI. And I'm also going to show you how to use a little used application through Google, which is called Draw. It's called Google Draw, I believe. Okay, so that said, let's go ahead and begin. Take a look. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go to week 4. I'll have this posted for you to look at. Right now, it's just in draft form. And the directions say to watch the intro video and to read all directions on the included rubric. So you're watching the video now. So let's take a look at the rubric. Open that up. All right, so the rubric is just like any rubric that you've used before. This rubric has some different point values. So the first thing that you're going to be graded on is your accuracy of labels and captions. Your magazine cover must include 4 of the artifacts that we investigated in class. You're going to label each of the artifacts that you chose, and you're going to write a caption with 2 or more sentences describing what the object is and what it was used for. A big bulk of what you're doing is right here in this part of the rubric. Okay, you're going to be creating a magazine cover, and it has to have really high quality content. Right? It's called Dig It Magazine, so it's an archaeology magazine, and you're going to want to have some really good previews for articles that might be inside of it. So there's 4 different artifacts that you're going to be focusing on with your magazine cover. The next thing you're going to be graded on, and this is worth 15 points, you could get a potential 15 points, is your magazine must include 4 pictures of your objects. Use Google image search to find pictures of these famous Indus Valley finds. And I actually have an even easier way for you to include some pictures in your drawing, and I will show you that in just a little bit. If you want to use some of your own images through Google image search, that's great, but I'm going to show you how to use TCI to do that as well. The other thing I'm going to be grading you on is spelling and capitalization. You should be editing your work before you turn it in. So spelling and capitalization, you want to use correct spelling and grammar for your labels and captions. Color choices and use of color. The colors that you choose will go a long way to making your magazine cover appealing and pleasing to the eye. Fonts should pop and contrast from the background. All writing should be legible and easy to read. Okay. There's some grades that go along with that. Finally, neatness and format. A great magazine cover is well planned and executed. Take the time to edit your work and make it look amazing. That's going to be the difference between a magazine that's good, a magazine cover that does a good job, and a magazine cover that really does a great job. Okay. So that's the rubric, and you can access that anytime, and this is exactly what I will be grading you on. So there's the rubric. This right here, everyone has their own copy of this, and it's called Dig It Magazine. And when you open that up, it's going to take you to this page right here. This is a blank page. Okay. Now, another website that you might want to have open for this is TCI. I would go to TCI and I would start at almost the beginning. I would start at section 2 in TCI. And we did a lot of hard work in looking at all of the artifacts. There were 8 artifacts that we looked at in this chapter. And what I want you to do is I want you to go back and think about the different artifacts that you were learning about. And what you need to do is pick 4 of them. Pick 4 artifacts that you really kind of want to focus on, artifacts that you thought were really important for the Indus River Valley, and that you think would really look good on a magazine cover and you'd like to talk about a little bit more. So of these 8 rather, you just have to choose 4 of them. Okay? And that's between all of these here, between sections 2 and all the way down to 9. So go back to your Dig It magazine cover, and I'm going to show you a couple of tips and tricks for getting this magazine cover going quickly, and showing you how you can organize your ideas and really get some good stuff down. So let's go ahead and take a look. But the first thing I would probably do is I'd want to set my background. Right now with this checkered background, what that says is that there actually is no background color. So what we want to do is start off, and all you have to do is right click, click background. You can choose a solid color, or you can choose a gradient. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to choose green, like this green gradient here. Excellent. All right, the next thing that we want to do is we have to have a title. It has to be a title. So we want to insert a title. And one way that we can do that is if you go up to insert, you could put in a text box if you wanted to. But let's take this one step further and let's use word art. This is kind of a throwback to when I was a kid. We used to have word art. All right, so it's going to bring up this box, and you have to put in what you want your title to say. So we're going to call this Dig It Magazine. Okay. All right. So it's created my word art, and I'm going to just drag this up here and center it at the very top of my magazine page, my magazine cover. All right. Now this font, it's Arial font, which is a great font, but I want it to be a little bit more fun than that. So we're going to use Bubblegum Sans. Thought that would be kind of cool. All right. And I want to change the color of it, so you can come here. I think it defaults to this light blue color, but you can fill it any color you'd like. You can also do a gradient. Now remember, I talked about how we should have colors that kind of contrast. So let's see if we can get some colors to contrast here. So I'm going to use this purple color, this purple gradient. And when I look at it, that looks pretty good, right? I can read everything really well. It looks nice. So I'm going to go ahead and center it, my Dig It magazine. And now I have my title for it. Next thing I might want to do, so I'm going to put in a little text box because I want to put in the month and the year. A lot of times you see that. We're going to use that Bubblegum Sans again. And this is we'll go to October 2020. I can type that in. And then if you highlight it, if I had thought before I might have made this a little bit bigger, you can make everything bigger. Let's go to 18. Maybe go a little bit higher. Let's try 24. I have to make this a little bit bigger for it to fit. All right, and that looks pretty good. I have my October 2020, and I can move that around if need be. Now, I want to start thinking about the different artifacts that I want to include here. And you have a lot of space, so you have a lot of options of how you want to show things. Maybe pick 1 or 2 artifacts as like a showcase. So you could have like 1 or 2 that are a little bit bigger, and then maybe have 2 others that are kind of on the side. All right, so let me show you a couple of tips and tricks here. To insert pictures, one way that you can do this is by going to Insert, clicking on image, and then you can search the web for images. Okay. And I think I showed you how to do this before. And one thing that you're going to want to do is maybe use the words Indus Valley. And I'm just going to use the word artifact right now because I'm thinking just generally. There's a bunch of artifacts. Another way that you can do this, though, and I like the how fast you can look things up, but I think it's easier to kind of just go to Google sometimes and look up exactly what you want. So let's do Indus Valley scale. Look at that. It comes up with the images that we need. Actually, this is the same exact image that's used in the book, as you can see, and you can use this image. Very easy to put images into. You can simply drag the image from right here. You can go right in and drop it right onto your magazine cover. And you can change the size of it. You can make it smaller, or you can make it larger. Okay. All right, so that's how you can find images through Google. Another way that you can do images, if you don't want to do the Google image search, is if you really want, you can go into TCI. And I'm going to grab a different one. Let's say we wanted to do, let's do games. There we go. So the picture is there. If you click on this picture and you drag it, you can actually bring this picture, just like you did with the Google picture that you grabbed earlier. You can put it right onto your magazine. And there we go. And of course, you can adjust the size to whatever you want it to be. All right. So we have a couple of pictures on there. You need to have 4 in total, and however you set them up is totally your call. But I'm going to show you the next step that we need to do. Let's go back to our rubric for a moment, because we need to look at some labels and captions. So we need to actually label each of these artifacts, and you have to have at least a 2-sentence caption for each of them. And I'm going to show you how you can put those in. So let's say we have these 2 items, and we want to label them. So we're going to use a text box. And let's say I want to label it on the top here. Okay, so I'm going to label this. And this is going to be called Ancient Indus Valley Scale. I'm going to make that a little bit bigger. All right, that looks pretty good, but I can make it better. And there's a lot of options that you have here. Text color. Let's keep with purple. That looks pretty good. I think that'll work. The black might work just a little bit better, but maybe I can make it easier to see. I think that's better. And I'm going to make it just a little bit bigger. We're going to go to 18 on that. All right, so now you have one of your labels done. You have a label done. You have to have a label for each one. So you'll also have to have a label for the games here. You could call this, games played by people in the Indus Valley. That would be a great label for it. All right, so what we need to do next is we have to have a caption for each of these pictures. So one thing I've found, and you can kind of do this when you get the basic ideas down, one thing I found is that these shapes are really quite helpful. There's a lot of shapes. There's arrows that you can use, and you can put them in and change the size of them. You can even change the shape of them a little bit. There are callouts. I'll give you a call out right here. This is called Explosion 2. We'll put that in. We have a little call out there. And you could put some words in there and tilt the words if you wanted to. You could put new, or you could put, out now. Make it look however you want. Let's insert another image. I'm sorry, another shape. Go to shapes. And let's keep it kind of soft. Let's make let's make a rounded rectangle. Okay, and it doesn't just put it in, it's going to give you these kind of crosshairs. And then you can make it as big as you'd like. There we go. All right. So now I have that. Now let's say I wanted a couple of these. I could copy them. And I could actually paste them, which is pretty neat. So I don't have to make a whole bunch of them. I can make multiples as I kind of go along. And then I can use these little captions, or these little boxes that I made, the little shapes. And I can use these for, so I can put my text boxes right inside there. So I'm going to put my text box there. I'll just have it go inside. And voila, you have a text box. This looks like you have enough space to get, I think it said, 2 sentences or so. You can certainly do more than 2 sentences. One thing I do want to make clear about your captions is that you really should be pulling your evidence and some analysis from the reading that we did on each of the artifacts. And also, you might remember that you did some guesswork about what these objects might have been used for. And you also did some reading on what archaeologists thought that they were used for. So when you look at the rubric and you see here that it says that you have to have 2 or more sentences describing what the object is and what it was used for, a good idea might be to go back into the TCI website to pull some of that information. Now, I want to make it clear that I do not want to see you simply cutting and pasting information right from the text. What I want you to do is I want you to put it into your own words and describe these artifacts and tell what they are and why they're important using your own words, but using the evidence to back it up. So right here, you could talk about this scale if you chose a scale. You could come back here and put in your text. You have your text box, and you can talk about what it is, what it was used for, right? And maybe give some details on it. And there you go. Okay. So I really hope that this was useful for you in creating your Dig It magazine. The Draw app is not used a lot, so it might be a little bit tough for you at first, but feel free to play around with it. There are so many different options that are on here. You can draw lines. You can put in all sorts of different shapes. You can put in images. You can play with word art. There's diagrams. It's really one of those apps that I've used over the years and kind of gotten better with the more that I've used it. So with that being said, you can email me or get into contact me if you have any questions on how to do your Dig It magazine. And I really can't wait to see what you all end up coming up with.